Thanks for watching. If you love Escape from Tarkov and disagree with me entirely, feel free to roast the shit out of me in the comments. Otherwise, add me on Steam, follow me on Instagram, subscribe to me on here. Peace.
2 years ago, I made a video titled, I wanted Escape from Tarkov to be something else. In it, I talked about why, despite enjoying harder, tactical FPS experiences, Tarkov as a game just didn't gel with me for justifiable reasons. The deep weapon customization, which is what drew me to Tarkov in the first place, was locked behind dozens of hours of grinding. The hardcore mechanic of losing everything upon death, even though I understood it as a core aspect of the game, generally turned me off and soured my mood. Tarkov, despite appearing on the surface and through promotional material as a hardcore, realistic shooter, wasn't actually all that realistic. Higher level foes take more hits before going down, and carefully pieing corners and tactically moving through an area puts you at a disadvantage compared to those who sprint and jump all over the place. Generally speaking, I came into the game expecting a milsim/survival experience and met a PvP-focused hardcore arena experience instead. So I shelved the game for a long while. I booted it up occasionally whenever a new wipe hit to see what was up, but never dived too deeply into it. I even gave SPT a try, and while it was a mildly neat experience, it never fully engrossed me. I was content to leave Tarkov as a game I tried, didn't like, and never really paid much attention to ever again. And with Battlestate Games continuing their backwards business practices, like taking what should have been two integrated modes for those already owning the core game, and making one a paid expansion and the other into an entirely separate game, I didn't think I could bring myself to support that. I still can't. So there it sat, until the start of this year. The latest Tarkov wipe, for those unfamiliar, a total reset of the game where every player is reset to level 1 and their default starting stash, began December 26, 2024, or a little over a month ago as of writing this video. A close friend of mine started talking about how she was relapsing into a college Tarkov addiction she had with this latest wipe. A couple weeks later, I got curious again and reinstalled Tarkov now that I potentially had a group I could play it with. That wasn't something I had the first time around, and wanted to see how having a regular gang to gang with would change the experience. I reinstalled the game, fully expecting to be disappointed again, and the first couple days back in Tarkov were rough. Despite having friends to help, I was still encountering players 3 times my level with multiple thousands of hours in the game. I died a lot. I nearly went bankrupt. I had less than 70,000 rubles in my stash at one point. I still had some really goofy fun with friends who tried to help me complete tasks and show me what they could of the game and give me their reasoning for enjoying it, but overall, it was a pretty awful first impression. Out of curiosity, I even began looking at other extraction shooters and found Arena Breakout Infinite a neat alternative. I gave it a shot, loved its presentation, and the fact it had a real, honest-to-God tutorial mission, and the fact that I could, play as a woman. But as I played ABI, I began to see the cracks. The scabs don't act the same as Tarkov and don't feel as satisfying to fight. Oftentimes, they stand in place and wait for you to shoot them. Even player encounters felt lopsided. I could take on most players with relative ease, which would be insane if this were Tarkov. The weapon selection still felt great, but the starter AK-74 in my stash felt perfectly adequate for essentially every encounter. And considering I get access to ABI's equivalent to Tarkov's player-driven flea market at level 3 rather than level 15, I could get any attachment for it with relative ease. There wasn't much motive to experiment with different weapon builds. ABI just didn't seem to have the sauce. So, on a whim, I hopped back into Tarkov. So Tarkov has an insurance system. I touched on it in the first video where I zeroed in on what I didn't like about it, the 24 to 36 hour waiting period before you get your insured items back, and only if those insured items aren't taken by a player that successfully extracts with them. When I returned to Tarkov from ABI, I was faced with a tremendous batch of insurance returns. I wasn't screwed, my stash was full again. This time around, some kind of gear started turning. Something in the deep recesses of my brain started oozing drops of dopamine again. At that moment, I understood Tarkov. It's a game that rewards long-term play. It rewards playing with a regular group. It rewards you for logging in, even for short bursts, at least once a day, even for just a small scav run. You see, Tarkov isn't at all what I expected it to be. It's not a milsim survival shooter. It's not solely a PvP-focused arena shooter. Tarkov is an MMO. Back in my senior year of high school, I got really into EVE Online. And I mean really into EVE Online. If you're unfamiliar, EVE Online is a sci-fi MMO where you pilot starships, engage in huge record-breaking battles that make literal headlines, explore a deep, rich galaxy with thousands of star systems, and participate in one of the most realistic player-driven economies ever created. I ran a corp, EVE's equivalent of guilds, named Vergnügen Industries after an inside joke from my high school friends, and took to running industrial operations and printing ISK through mining and production. The PvP aspects of EVE never really interested me, mainly because I wasn't particularly good at it, and I only ever did PvE ratting raids and mission running every once in a while to mix things up. I still remember the crazy, coordinated mining operations we'd do, searching for bullion in dangerous sectors of space where we'd risk our gear for the potential to make millions.
I don't know if I'll be able to worth anything.
Let me take a look. It's worth about 15 million ISK per hour.
My corp had a pretty substantial membership. I lucked out with a recruitment push I did after my high school friends had lost interest in the game, and found players from all over the world who were interested in joining me. There was one guy, a British soldier stationed in Canada, another a car salesman in Memphis, a military veteran from Lebanon, an industrial engineer from Mexico, web designers, technicians, middle-aged men with wives and kids and teenagers like myself at the time still finishing their studies. EVE and Vergnügen was such a formative time for me, right when I just started to figure out who I was as a human. These folks were some of the first people I came out to, even if it was only as, I don't know dude, I'm questioning my gender pretty hard. Anyway, get in that orco, we're about to jump. My time as a leader of this haphazard crew didn't last forever. My high school graduation was rapidly approaching, and college soon after. Running this corp with such a strong membership was becoming a full-time job, and I knew I wouldn't be able to keep up with it once I took on a college workload. So I stepped down, handing it to that Memphis car salesman who had become my trusted second-in-command. He later handed it to another person who, from what I gather, led the corp into a practical golden age with the strongest membership and prominence it had ever had. Vergnügen Industries is now officially closed, last I checked. I regret not being able to see it at its height long after I ran it, but I could still be vicariously proud of what it became. Also, if you happen to be a former member of Vergnügen who came across this video on happenstance, hi, I'm Peter Dalacourt, founder. I'm trans now. Once I realized Tarkov had some of those same qualities EVE Online had, the risk, the challenge, the opportunities, the social aspects, things really started to click. I started logging in every day. I started turning in more quests. My experience grew. My skills as a player grew. I knew where to find fights and where to avoid them. The average scav was no longer lethal like it once was. Players are still a problem, and even now I try to avoid PvP when I can, but a friend of mine showed me the wonder that is the leg meta, and now I have a tool in my back pocket for the 5,000-hour mega chads with class 1 billion armor. My hideout started growing to the tune of the Home Depot theme. What was once a pipe dream in my first playthrough became a truly built-out space, still shoddy, but respectable and effective. Playing with friends taught me that I should be schmooving a lot more than I had before, so I sprint practically everywhere now. I round corners like a bat out of hell, winning fights through pure violence of action rather than tactical prowess. I learned how to use my scav character, first as pure income, spawning in a factory only to run for the nearest extract, only stopping to loot if I could be assured I wouldn't convert my head into mist. Later, I started scavving reserve and finding even more insane loot to grow my wallet, and even to keep for later raids with my PMC. I also learned how to really optimize the money I was getting for that loot. Therapist is the best spot to sell junk. Jaeger buys your scavs knives. Mechanic won't buy guns below a certain durability threshold, but he will buy the parts off of them. Best of all, if you save your knives from your scavs, specifically the Black Damascus and ER bayonet knives, you can barter those to Mechanic for a mint condition UMP-45. I use this gun a bunch. I started chatting up random scavs on these runs. We shared loot, let each other know where dangerous PMCs might be, and watched each other's backs. Seemingly overnight, the fear of using my PMC character to complete tasks and level up vanished. I began to view every piece of my kit as expendable, losing that attachment I talked about in my first video. I learned what ammo is valuable to keep and use, and what ammo would be better off sold to Mechanic, rather than taking up space in my stash. My weapons became ever more optimized to eat legs on customs or snipe scavs on one of my many camping trips through woods. My mission began dictating my gear. And finally, for the first time in live Tarkov, I reached level 15, gained access to the player-driven flea market, Suddenly, an entirely new aspect of the game opened up, and that EVE Online player in me saw opportunity after opportunity. God, how much I love the idea of speculating in a virtual market. It's a miracle I turned out to be an anarchist. It feels weird to say it, after making a whole video airing my grievances on it, that I began to enjoy Escape from Tarkov on its own terms. It was never trying to be a realistic shooter or a milsim. It's fully content to be its own thing, even if it's a mess in the process. I enjoyed it so much that oftentimes I'm running it solo. My friends are busy people, and I'm self-employed since being laid off in 2023. It's so wild to think I've changed so much as a human being in the short time it's been since I made that video. I've changed a lot, haven't I? I mean, a lot. I'm like a completely different person now. It's funny, I made that one video on Highway Blossoms, a visual novel that I postulated used change as a core theme, and talked about how different I was at 23 compared to 19. I'm 26 now. I'm talking about how different I was at 24. Do you know how painful it is to think about the person I used to be? I look at this video, consistently one of my best received, and cringe. I cringe. There's no other word for it.
This makes me cringe. It's embarrassing.
It's such a faulty thesis and flawed essay with lousy structure that's propped up by being more about my raw personal experiences than anything intellectually challenging. I'm mutuals with the writer of the game now, and I constantly think about their opinion of me, given that as the only interaction we'd had. I wish it was a better video. I wish I hadn't talked about the adult scenes. I wish I could go back, change so much, delete it altogether. Take my first Tarkov video. I look at myself, sitting there on my couch in my apartment I'm about to be unable to afford. I'm wearing a koi fish button-up and Mugsy jeans I found at a thrift store. I felt like I was so afraid to be feminine, so afraid to be perceived as a woman. So I put on this persona of ruggedness. I drove a manual Outback and developed opinions about beers. I wore flannels and blue jeans. It was okay though, I was still a woman, just a flannel lesbian. I embraced strength because it's what I felt I needed to do to be taken seriously. I am not this person, but I am this person. My voice is different, my hair is different, the shape of my face and my body is different thanks to 2 more years of HRT and the addition of progesterone. I dress differently, I am different, I go by a different name. But that's me, and I can't deny that. When you're so obsessed with the idea that you are a completely different person than what you used to be, like I guess I am at this point, it becomes hard to tell which version of you is the real you. Is it me right now? Was it me then? Will I look back on this 2 years from now and say the same thing about myself? Sitting in this chair, recording a voiceover? These versions of myself are all undeniably me, and yet none of them are. But to say they're not me would be denying responsibility for the actions of these people. I've made mistakes. I've upset and disappointed those around me. I've hurt people. To say that the actions of these past selves are not mine would be denying these actions altogether. On the other hand, these past selves did great things. I achieved so much in the background of my life when I made my Highway Blossoms video, and doubly so when I made my Tarkov video. I was working full-time, a rockstar video editor and DP, putting out work for huge clients. In college, I brought out the confidence in me to call myself a woman. In high school, I got a taste of leading a team through running my EVE Corp. As a 13-year-old hyperfixating on My Little Pony friendship is magic and reckoning with the concept of gender for the first time, I taught myself the fundamentals of filmmaking to create pony videos. Compare that to me today, in a house with 3 roommates, living on freelance editing work, hoping to go back to community college for the chance at a better, stronger career, and no longer centering my life on film and seeing it solely as my job, while I explore other art forms and write folk punk songs about Magic the Gathering. So, voices, femininity, film, liking Tarkov. Is it all a symptom of knowing that I'll never be the same person as the one I am now? Escape from Tarkov, at its core, and one that creators in its community consistently cite as its strongest attractor, is the sense of overcoming adversity. By its nature, which rewards you for long-term play, you organize yourself into an effective machine of war. You budget your raids, you weigh decisions like what ammo to bring, what sort of engagement distances you'll be encountering, and what your routes through the map might look like. How many splints do you think you'll need to bring? Scabs may not be a threat now that you have a semblance of skill, but one wrong move and you'll be a lucky shotgun blast away from limping home on woods. This discipline it instills affected me more than I'd like to admit. For context, I've always had terrible time management. Whenever I get an open-ended freelance job or assignment or whatever, I've almost without fail saved it for the last minute and stayed up until 2 a.m. so I can get it out on time. This made me resent freelance work. Sure, I needed it to eat and pay bills, but it genuinely felt painful to do at times. This year, I knew that wouldn't fly anymore. Whether I liked it or not, video editing work is going to be a part of my life for the foreseeable future. It's a skill I have, and to not monetize it would be brain dead. So, as an experiment, I decided to start a self-imposed work schedule. Nothing crazy, of course. Monday through Thursday from 12 to 4 p.m., I have to be working on something. It doesn't even have to be a paid editing job. It can be a passion project, learning a new skill, or honing a current one. But from 12 to 4 p.m., on those days, I have to be creating. I was extremely nervous to do this. Any time before in my life when I've tried to self-impose a work schedule on myself, it's always resulted in a mental breakdown. That's part of why the schedule was only 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. Imposing a 9 to 5 on myself would only lead to said mental breakdown if I don't ease into it. But so far, a couple weeks in, it's been a resounding success. The editing work I've been putting out has been some of the best and most emotionally engaging I've done, and keep in mind most of these are wedding documentary edits. This feels crazy to say, but for the first time in years, I'm enjoying editing. It used to feel like a slog. It took hours to push myself to even start on one. But now that I have a schedule where I can break things down into manageable chunks and still leave time for myself in the day to relax and play more Tarkov, I can actually focus on making something as menial as a wedding doc plussed up and interesting to watch. That feels so good. I can't even describe it. The first week with this experimental schedule went great. I put out edits better and faster than I had before, enough to convince my wedding guy to give me even more work, equaling even more income. It's had a genuine impact on my quality of life, which is the exact opposite of what I expected. It's enough to where I increased that 4 hours to 5-hour work days, enough to start exploring some other skills while I do paid work for income. All the while, I've been playing Tarkov after work. I've slowed down a bit after reaching level 15, but I log on at least once a day to do a quick scav run and do a few barter profits on the flea market. Frustrating moments still happen, and it feels like every PMC I run into outclasses me in every possible category, but in AJJ's parlance, I can still feel that pain of self-improvement. In my last video, I recommended a few other games as alternatives to Tarkov, for those like me at the time who expected a milsim and got a weird FPS MMO hybrid. Given that, would I recommend Tarkov? I'm unsure. It's a game with a heavy acquired taste, and its developer continues to show their priorities in monetization over improvement in quality of life. That said, Tarkov, at its best, can be an insanely fun game, with some of the most intense moments I've ever faced in any FPS. The sense of self-improvement is unlike anything else out there. You're not putting points into skill trees, you are physically getting better at the game as you play it. And in those moments, where all you have is a 2-pair, and your opponent a flush, there's still a chance you get that lucky bluff that pays off.
Astronaut, but I wonder what it's like seeing a
Oh my god! Hey guys! I heard we're going to reserve.
Hey guys, we're taking a trip.
God. I love gambling.
I love gambling.
Oh yeah, I'm all packed up. I think I'm gonna go
Chat, where are we dropping?
a little bit beefier on this one. I'm willing to risk it.
Oh, you know what?
That's what I'm
I
doing.
think I am too.
Football?
Football!
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 Football! Alright, my fit has never
see?
been seen before.
I see.
I'm excited for you guys to see it.
Let's see it.
I like how you're
Let's fucking go!
I'm draped. I heard we going to the shoreline. On Slack. Are we blood or crip?
What?
Wait, I need to wait for Cameron.
I am so ready.
We're out front.
Wow, escape from Tarkov. Frankly, wow. Honestly, if I had loot, I'd escape. Escaping? Why are they escaping? too many trees, frankly. We should build a big Walmart parking lot right here. I think it'd be very good.
Not sure where you are, so.
I can, if you kind of run back the way you were, you'll see me.
Okay, give me a sec.
Okay. But there's a guy here. I think if we double or perhaps triple team him.
One of us needs to get like a good Hillary impression. I think that would be the perfect. Ah, fuck!
Oh my god, what the fuck? Is that? No way. Hold on.
What's going on?
There might be a guy in that room down there. Do you have a grenade?
I do actually, RTO.
I don't know if I'm just seeing things, but I feel like there was a guy in that fucking room.
Yep. There's a guy in that room.
Oh my god. I can open it if you don't.
Oh fuck! I threw a grenade. Fuck! Oh, I'm so fucking sorry.
No, I'm alive.
Holy fuck!
Thrown last second.
Holy shit! Holy fuck!
Oh my god. Okay, do you have a view on this?
I do. Yeah, I'm still at the hole above it.
Okay, open that door. You might drop down and open that door. Try not to peek directly in though, just like kind of make you nervous. I am on the balcony on your right side.
Go.
Open that door. Okay. So anyone on the left side is ops. I'm on the right side. I am friendly.
Okay.
Go ahead and open.
It's opened.
Oh, it's opened? Okay, shit.
So yeah, I said it like a couple seconds ago.
I just tagged him a couple times. Nice.
Reloading.
He's hurt again.
Oh, he's real bad. He's hurt real bad. I gotta pull off though. Ah, fuck. He got me.
Dead?
Yeah.
Oh, hell no. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to. So I'm shooting like poo-poo doo-doo ammo. So I was just trying to hit his face, and I just kept hitting the side of his helmet, which is so unfortunate. Because I was, like, if I just got a few more hits on the side of the helmet anyway, like he would have just died from blunt damage.
Yeah, I think if I had aimed at his face a little bit more, I probably would have had him. Because I'm shooting PS, which isn't like the strongest, but it hits hard enough.
Hey, we did pretty all right though. We did okay.
That was, dare I fucking say, teamwork. Like,
no, it was.
Yeah, that was pretty damn good. Like, thanks for the callouts and everything. Like, yeah.
It was beautiful. I can't believe I didn't die from the grenade. I wish I was like running something so I could clip that, because that shit was. I proned the moment it went off.
Yeah.
Behind the wall.
I mean, I have the footage from my end.
It was
So.
Crazy. It felt like some